You're listening to the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name is Bill McIntyre, and it's time for this week's Long Island News, the show that talks to newsmakers and other important people from Nassau and Suffolk County that matter to Long Island and Long Islanders like you. So each week we'll have a conversation about issues that affect all of us. I live on Long Island just like you, and I want to know more about the people making the big decisions that affect all of us. Well, this week I'm happy to welcome back to our show Patrick Ryder, the Commissioner of Police of the Nassau County Police Department, to talk about law enforcement issues across our county. Mr. Ryder, welcome back to this week's Long Island News.
Glad to be here, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been a while, but you're looking good.
Yeah. I'm not feeling so good. A little tired, but I'm good. I'm good.
I'll bet there's a lot of activity going on in the, So I understand the department is celebrating its 99th anniversary.
We actually this year is 99. Next year will be 100. The big celebration will be here in the county. As you know, the county right now is in its 125th year.
Okay.
Next week there's a big gala over at the Lannon in Eisenhower Park. Wednesday night, I believe it is. The county executive is hosting quite a large crowd to just basically celebrate Nassau County and what it's done in its 125 years. Next year, it hits the 100-year anniversary of the police department. So we will do another celebration for the police department separately.
Wow. How did it, what's the germination of the police department?
Well, believe it or not, the first police in the county were the sheriff's department. So they're the oldest. So they just had their 125th year anniversary.
And that's what, 120 is what, 1900?
Yeah. We started in 1925. They started in 1900. Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
It's funny how it all comes together, but, sheriff's was first, then the police department started. It started as a half motorcycle, half foot post.
Wow.
I think it was 55 people with the original police department when it started, 1925.
That's about when 100 people lived here.
That's right. That's right. It was all farmland. And now we're back up to 2,600. Our county executive continues to grow strength in the police department. We're now at just over 2,600. New class starts next Friday. My son will be in that class, which is pretty cool.
Ooh.
And, it's showing that we'll continue to keep the people safe, doing it efficiently. New contracts are negotiated constantly. And you're getting to grow the department. We used to be 4,000 strong.
Really?
And we went down to about 1925, I think was the number. And now we're back up to 2,600.
Wow, that's interesting. Wow, 100 years. I remember hearing about the New York City Police Department supposedly started Christmas time because of the thing, and I never understood this song when I heard it. Here we go, a wassailing. That's basically going to the rich people and breaking their doors down and demanding food and gifts and presents for the holiday.
Let's not try that in Long Island.
No, but that was a reaction to it. Was we need more because I think they used to pay for neighborhood security, so
Sure.
a guy would walk around the block.
That's the old organized crime method, right?
Bingo, right?
You want to do business in my community, you got to pay.
Got to
give me a vig.
Got to go through me. Yep, yeah. So it was interesting just to see that. So it was Christmas, and then we got the police department.
Yep.
Yeah. Pretty wild. So now, how long have you been the commissioner?
I'm in my 8th year. I started under Ed Mangano, his last year, then 4 years with County Executive Curran, and now my 2nd year going into my 3rd year with the County Executive Blakeman.
Wow. What are your future plans? Are you would you want to be the county executive?
No.
Right.
I'm not a politician. I'm a cop.
Bingo.
And I'd probably get myself in trouble when I get into politics. I speak too much from the heart, which is good in some aspects. And I, go above and beyond. I want to defend my cops. They do a good job. We get knuckleheads like everybody else does in any business, any profession. And sometimes you got to weed them out. But for the 99.9% of the rest of them, they're doing a great job, and they treat the people of Nassau County very well.
Yeah. It's what, it'd be scary being a cop who wasn't up to, because it's not just like, oh, you're doing a bad job, and you could get in big trouble.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. It's not just a matter of being fired or not.
Nowadays, they hang on every word you say, every act that you do.
Yeah,
you see what goes on, and with artificial intelligence, they post these things and they say, hey, this is what he said. Now, you know he didn't say it.
Oh, yeah.
But now you got to try to disprove it or prove it.
Right. Well, this is one of the things now, as, doing this show is trying to educate people if they listen, is that, there was a thing for a while that said if you picked up your phone and you didn't know who the number was, don't ever answer yes. Don't ever say the word yes because they were using your voice to go to a bank and agree to a loan that you don't even know you're taking out. Now, we've got the ability to recreate a whole character visually and audibly that you would think you were looking at your relative or your. And, remember the old call, and it's still going on. Johnny's been in a car accident and he needs bail money and blah, blah, blah. And you got to send me, the thing I don't get is why people fall for, send me 15 Target gift cards. Yeah. You say, well, wait a minute. The court's really going to take those?
Well, unfortunately, these bad guys, they like to play on us seniors, right? So they're very set in their ways. They, please God, live long, healthy lives. And then all of a sudden somebody's calling, say, hey, little Johnny, your nephew is in a car accident. Yeah. We need $500 right away. Yeah. You get the $500, then you know that person's good for another hit. So they'll come back. And now it's the bill for the medical is about $10,000. They need to pay that before they can do the surgery. And it goes on and on and on. Yeah. But the bad guy can do it 1,000 times. He only has to hit once.
Yeah, right.
You got to be right every time because if you're wrong once, you lose the money. Yeah, and it's tough getting it back.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we try to educate people. Don't click on links in your emails, even if you think you know who they are. There's a bunch of stuff the bad guys are doing. They have a, I guess it almost looks like the card, the icon on the card. If you look at how Citibank is written, it's written with a Cyrillic A, the only different letter in the whole thing. But when you look at it fast, as far as you know, that's Citibank.
That's right.
People call you on the phone, find your bill from that company and look at the number on the bill and call that number, not the number they gave you on the phone.
Nobody's calling you for a bill. Nobody's calling you from Social Security.
Right.
You'll get it in the mail. You read the document, and then you call to confirm the number they gave you and what the concern is.
Yeah.
Don't listen to anybody that calls you and says, oh, by the way, the best one is your car insurance is about to lapse, or your warranty is going to, if you send us now, we can extend your warranty by 3 years for only $500. And people are like, wow, that's a steal. I'll send $500. I get 3 more year warranty. But the only problem is it didn't go to Ford. Right. It went to a guy named Tommy Ford, and that was the end of your money.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And they get pretty good.
Yes, they do.
I mean, I would sit there and say, wait a minute, and trying to find a loophole.
We ask people so you have parents that are elderly. Be in contact with them. Constantly remind them. Anybody calls, call me first. Don't do something. We do the same thing by going and speaking at our senior citizen buildings and stuff, where we're trying to educate them on what not to get caught in. But check on your neighbor. Check on your parents. Just say hello. Make sure they're okay, because they'll keep coming back till either they get caught or chased.
Right.
And, we've had sometimes we're over $100,000 they've given away. And we'd go to the bank. We said to the bank, why did you keep giving her money? Well, it's her money. I can't stop her from taking it out, and you can't put it on the bank, but some due diligence would have helped and maybe protected this person.
Yeah. There's an issue now going on with, that people are concerned about is, their property information at the county clerk's office.
Mm-hmm.
And what do they call it? Title theft.
So unfortunately, at the county clerk's office, it's public record. And when they go down there, I can say, I want to see the record on this property. And I pull up your deed. And now I got your deed, your information, with cameras and everything. Take a couple of pictures. I recreate the document. Then I take it and I put the house up for sale. And I'll watch your house. I'll know you go on vacation. I'll put it up for sale. You buy it, you're in. Or you're a snowbird. And I know you're a snowbird. Right. And you go down there for 3 months. Have somebody watching your house, because people have moved into homes and now they get squatter rights. And then we can't just kick them out. Right. We can't prove they broke into the house. And they're going to say, I bought the house. Here's the deed I was given. They may have created it or somebody else. And here's the deed I was given. I bought the house. We can't kick them out of your own house. And you can't get into it because the locks have been changed. Right. It's crazy. So, and we end up in court, and then we end up getting settlements to do it. But in some cases, We've had judges order us to let the people back into the house. But, Your Honor, it's not his house.
We finally got them out.
The father died. Yeah. It was his house. Kids lived in Arizona. This house, they've been here. They've been looking to sell it, whatever business they were taking care of. And now you've turned around and this person has moved in there and taken possession of the house. It's a problem.
Yeah.
Big problem.
Yeah. So what needs to be done in order to fix that? We're talking about changing the laws or
the laws got to change. Uh-huh. We got to stop giving rights to the bad guy. We got to stop, I'm all for bail reform. I said this before on your show. A rich kid should never over a poor kid. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you can't tell me that a guy that's been arrested 7 times just keeps coming out. Right. If there's no penalty, why not keep stealing?
Yeah.
So when it comes to the laws like the squatter rights, we're giving too much to now what we consider homeless. They're not homeless. They didn't go into an abandoned home. They went to somebody's home. That's called a burglary.
Yeah, right.
And they should be arrested and processed. Yeah. But it doesn't work out that way.
Right. Well, it's kind of like the same issue you have with when we talked last time. We talked about shoplifting. Mm-hmm. And how, your officers may chase a guy down the street, but when they bring him back to the store doesn't want to press charges.
That's right.
So now you put 2 cops in danger. You did that. But what's the alternate to that?
Well, we don't do a job, right? But we're going to keep doing it. But what we said to corporate America that says, my store A, and I'm just going to not name a store, but my store A, we're not going to, we want you to stop it. We want you to stop them from stealing. But we're not going to sign. We don't want to prosecute anybody. We don't want to get caught in court and everything else like that. Well, then we're not going to give you the case report that's going to help you get your insurance. So you want to play your game, I'll play my game.
Right.
I'll still protect you. I'll do my job. Right. But if you're not protecting my cops that are going to get hurt arresting this guy or sued, we're not going to help you out getting your insurance.
So at least you have some administrative,
some powers left.
Yeah.
But they'll take that away too.
Well, yeah. It just seems, because I remember you saying it last time. We need the community support, and if they can't support that, that's a kind of a rock bottom thing,
And we have community. The community in Nassau County is very supportive of law enforcement. The business side of certain corporates, they don't want to see a cop, right. And the other ones on the other extreme, I need more cops, and you're trying to get a balance. You're trying to protect everybody and do the right thing. But the laws that are coming down out of Albany, it just hurts us day in and day out. Now that we're wiping criminal records out, right? So we're going to wipe your criminal record. Nobody can see that you had a criminal record unless it was certain crimes. So I don't know that I just hired somebody that's been arrested for burglary 3 times or stealing 3 times, a larceny 3 times. But I'm going to hire him in my business, and I'm supposed to trust him.
Now, we would have thought as a knee-jerk response to that those kind of crimes wouldn't be getting erased. That it would
be
right. Well,
but they are.
But they are, huh?
They are.
That's wild. You're listening to this week's Long Island News on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name is Bill McIntyre, and my guest today is Patrick Ryder, the Commissioner of Police with the Nassau County Police Department. Moving on, a few months back, Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman announced plans to deputize residents who legally owned a firearm during county emergencies. Now, that's obviously it's a controversial decision. Was it something you were aware of before he announced it, or what was your reaction to that?
The county exec spoke to me about it, and we always want to use law enforcement first, but understand what he's trying to do. In the state of an emergency, a Sandy type situation, or even the George Floyd riots, and if it got bad, and it didn't out here in Nassau County, but if it got bad, he has the right to call for a state of emergency, state of the county emergency. And in that time, he can say, hey, guys, I need to deputize you now and sit on all my houses of worship. Mm-hmm. Right? So I can continue to protect them that we do day in and day out. But if I took all my resources and I got to throw them at this massive flood from Sandy or a massive protest and violence, I need backup. And so it's very cost effective. They have their guns anyhow. These are not people that were giving guns. Mm-hmm. In the old days when you deputized, hey, go in and make sure he gets a gun. Well, maybe that's not the best person that should have a gun. No. So in this case, they already have guns. They come from very reputable positions. Most of them are military, retired cops. special forces guys and say, hey, yeah, we'll be part of your team. Mm-hmm. So the message kind of got twisted a little bit, that there was a militia being brought together and he was going to send them out in the streets of Nassau County. Right. That's not what the county exec was looking to do. What he was looking to do was say, hey, I got to be prepared. And it's his job. It's his responsibility, as it is mine, but I work for him. So at the end of the day, he takes the hardest hit, right? It's his responsibility to make sure the people in Nassau County are protected at all times. And if something goes wrong and I got to send my resources one direction, where's my backup coming from? Right. And I can't call on the city of New York and Suffolk County to come in here. They got their own problems. Yeah. So it was it's a small group, very, very small group. They're going through training at the academy to, the laws. But until he rings the bell and says, I need you, mm-hmm. they can't use any of those resources for anything that they want to do. Right. They already had their guns, so it's a full carry county now that we're allowed to, if you apply for a weapon, and they'll be out there on patrol. They'll be in standby mode, and if asked, they will step up and do their job.
Right. Again, I always talk about optics, and it's
the optics, and it got spun.
Really didn't look good. It looked like he was creating his own private army, which they only answer to him, right?
Well, we all only answered, right? Yeah, even my police department, I answer to him. Right. But again, it was only in those deep emergency situations that he claims it. And even if he claimed a state of emergency for a Sandy, mm-hmm. he might not be using the police department resources for that. He may be using OEM and Department of DPW, but he's doing that for funding mechanisms. If you had a riot type situation and it got out of control, you leave your critical infrastructure unprotected. Mm-hmm. So we're out there every day on houses of worship. That is the number one target, right? Of just about all the bad guys these days. Yeah. So we're out there making sure that our houses of worship, our temples, our mosques, our churches are protected. Now all of a sudden I pull the resources, go another direction. Who's protecting them? Mm-hmm. So, and sometimes bad guys want that. They'll cause a distraction, explosion or bomb over here, mm-hmm. so that weakens over there, and then they go hit you on the other side.
Yeah, yeah. I guess, for like most of these things, we'll see how it plays out.
You're right.
I mean, a simplistic thing is, you have a situation that has a lot of guns in it. And adding 25 guns does not seem like an answer to that.
There's a lot of guns out there today, but, that whole Second Amendment changed in the Supreme Court. And look, the state came out with a little bit more stricter rules mm-hmm. in the state. And then the county exec came up with some that were even a little bit more restricted. He wanted a drug test everywhere. It got thrown out in the courts. But he said, hey, if you want to carry a gun, I want to drug test you.
I can't say I disagree with him.
And they threw it out. Right. So it's a difficult balance all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when you're, like I said, as politician and county exec, he's not afraid of a fight when it's a worthy fight. He backs up his cops and men and women, but if I got a bad cop, he's like, get rid of him, And that's what we do. We got to have the best of what we have. He's trying to bring new ideas, the economy, the cricket tournament, the casino. He's outside the box thinker. And then sometimes, look, it doesn't work out the way, so you back out of it. You go another direction. But he's trying to put new initiatives and new ideas out there. Uh-huh. And it's, some of it is very beneficial for us.
Right, right. I certainly wouldn't want to be a politician in today's atmosphere.
No.
I mean, really not. You don't know who's shooting at you from where.
They rip your life apart.
Yeah. What do we got here? Newsday reported that Suffolk County officials are examining mental health services and other support offered to law enforcement professionals after 4 officers died by suicide in recent weeks. Now, what's your department done differently in response to something like this?
So you never know when that suicide's going to come. But we lost an officer several years ago to suicide. We call him the Big Red Dog, Officer Clifford. And he took his own life. And out of that, we said, what are we doing for our members? Well, we've always had an Office of Employee Assistance. You can go to them. It's off the record. They don't speak to me about business. They are members of the force, and they have some social workers in there, and they try to get you help. Drug abuse, alcohol abuse, mental abuse, whatever it is, they're for it. We expanded that. We have a peer support group now. Any major incident that occurs, we have a group of officers that go and they speak to the officers. Nobody gets to go home without speaking to us first. Oh. That baby that just died, that crib death, it's probably one of the worst things a cop has to see because we're all family people.
Yeah.
And of course the family themselves, what they have to see. So it's two sides to peer support. The peer support can come and support me as the cop. But if my family member, if that was my sister's child that died, they would go speak to my sister for us too. So they keep the strength in the family and part of what we do here in the county. Then we added a wellness. So mind, body, and soul. Let's make sure that we're all together, working together. That was actually a piece of legislation that came out of Rich Nicolello, pushed it forward in the ledge, said you got to create a wellness group. Right. So we have a wellness group now, we have a peer support group, and we've offered some employee assistance. So the three of them work together to keep the officers in good mind and body. But it's tough. Yeah. It's tough when you see something different at night. The day-to-day stress that you're under. Then you go home and you have your own family problems. Yeah. And it can go in the route of an alcohol. It can go in the route of drugs. It can go in the route of suicide. Yeah. So we've been fortunate. We haven't had a suicide in over 5 years. And I think it has a lot to do with what the work that we're doing to take care of our members.
Yeah, most people, after their day of work, they have something that helps them decompress. Cops can't be any different. They're human beings.
All the same.
So some guys might be lucky that the gym is the way that they, get that out. But others may not be as attuned to that. And in this day and age, there's a lot of outlets that certainly wouldn't be good for good policing.
That's right.
That's
right.
Yeah.
But it is. They go home and
because there was a big question about when marijuana became legal. Okay, now are cops going to be able to, if they got drug tested, are they going to be held responsible for,
100%.
They can drink the night before, but you're not going to see that the next day.
That's right. But alcohol is not listed as one of the items that if you possess a firearm, you can't do drugs. So if you're carrying that weapon and we're supposed to carry a weapon 24/7, I can't get stoned. I can't get drunk either, right? Technically. Right. And I'm sure there's plenty of guys that went out, but hopefully the gun's secured. They taken the proper precautions. We tell the cops now too. Years ago, you got burnt if you didn't have your gun and you were in a bar. Right. Now we tell the cops, listen, don't bring your weapon to a bar. Right. You're going to go to a restaurant, have dinner with your wife, and you want to carry your weapon? Good. You're going to go out afterwards drinking? Leave it home and secure and you're safe. It's not a place that you want to be with a gun.
Yeah. Well, I'm a musician, you know that. One of the scariest jobs I ever played was on Fifth Avenue in the middle of Brooklyn at a little Irish place called Peggy O'Neill's.
I know the place.
Okay.
I know Peggy O'Neill's.
I played a gig there, and it was a big cop hangout, and it was the Wild West in there that night. I was stunned. The three guys out on the sidewalk beating the hell out of each other. It was, and I thought, when it was time to leave, we ran. Because I said, you realize everybody in this place is armed except us. I've got a pair of drumsticks. It's about all, and that kind of scenario is scary. It really is. But with 2,600 officers, you can be pretty on them. Yeah.
So, like I said, Blakeman, when he got in here, we were about 2,100. He's added more and more cops. He's done big hiring classes, and we've gotten bigger. I should say about 2,250 when he got in, and now we're up to 2,600. And this class comes in next week. We went above the head count again. This is the third time. When the head count was 2,500, he went to 2,540. When it's 2,540, he went to 2,570. Now it's 2,570. He's going to 2,600. So we're making it bigger and bigger.
Well, and the future of Long Island, it's not going to get smaller. Unless somebody comes in. See, my vision of the future of Long Island was to go back to where it came from, was big estates.
Yeah.
So some guy will come in and buy 7 houses and knock them all down and put up one big mansion and put a wall around it. And then the people living in the swaths of neighborhoods will be the pool guy, all the service people that would maintain that.
Well, that's kind of how it happened in the beginning, right?
Well, that's where it came from, right? I had a friend who lived up in Bayview, Bayville, and he used to have a neighbor that landed every night on his airplane in the water and got out of the plane and then went to his home.
Yeah.
All of those little houses that are there now were
servants.
And they were also on the property of the mansion
Yep.
that this guy owned. So all of Bayville came from a big estate and then got broken up into subdivisions. And, and now here's the future of Long Island. Everybody complaining about every building that's put up for whatever kind of housing.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether it's, affordable, which is a word they shouldn't be able to use. It doesn't matter.
Traffic.
Oh, the buildings are too high. And I keep trying to tell, like our listening audience, it's not going to stay the same.
Right.
You
can't.
I've been here for 60 years. As a kid, I remember potato farms.
Right.
I remember Long Island like it's pictured in those, And so some of these people that are complaining don't even remember that. But this is changing too much.
Yeah.
You say.
And now housing is the big ask, right? And they want more housing.
Yeah.
More housing means we're bringing in more people. Where are these people coming from?
More cops.
Yeah.
That's what I was,
more
that's
housing,
what started
more
me
cops,
thinking about
more
this.
More housing, more volunteer firemen. They're struggling to keep recruitment up for the volunteers.
Yep.
This country was built on volunteers, and now we can't get them. And the volunteer firemen do an outstanding job in this county. Every time they're called to step up and do the right thing. But
my dad was a volunteer fireman. That's where I first started playing. Well, not first started playing drums, but I marched with the Imperials of the South Farmingdale Fire Department for 10 years at least. They've got rooms in that fire department that have 6-foot trophies that we won that they just can't find in their hearts to throw away, but they're hanging on to them. So yeah, I'm well aware of, what the volunteers do. It's an amazing system. And at least now, in some cases, they're getting some recognition. They're getting some insurance benefit.
Yes. Eyeglass plans, some dental. They get a pension if they serve so many years. It's a small pension, but you know what? It's saying thank you for giving to us at your time and for free.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing, and I probably shouldn't say this, but I will because it's been my experience. Every firehouse has a very beautiful bar. They all do.
They need a place to have meetings and gatherings, and they also do it as a rental to get an income and bring money back to keep the building upkept.
Right. But but as a little kid, I thought, well, that's just one consistent thing, But
many years ago, before my time, in police station houses, all the soda machines were stocked with beer. Right. So when you went to pick a Diet Pepsi, it was a Budweiser or a
Rheingold.
A Rheingold or a Schaefer.
Right. Promise you come back. Maybe you'll come back next week.
You got it.
My guest today has been Patrick Ryder, the Commissioner of Police with the Nassau County Police Department. And again, thank you for taking the time to be here to speak with us today. But the clock on the wall says it's time for this week's Long Island News to get on out of here. I'm Bill McIntyre. Remember, you can listen to us by searching for this week's Long Island News wherever you listen to podcasts. And we're right here every Friday on the radio at 3 p.m. on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.